Hello and welcome to another episode of FPL Apprentice, formerly known as FPL Journey to 10K, the only podcasting series in which we delve into the mind of one of the greatest players to ever play the game, a current fantasy football fix, Elite 11 manager, current world number 9, and a former world number 1. It is, of course, Matthew Corbridge, who the eagle lad amongst you may well have noticed isn't with us today. And the episode is episode 49.5. Unfortunately, due to work commitments, Matt couldn't be with us, and I can't do episode 50 without him. It does mean, not to give too much away, but episode 50 next week, when Matt is back, might well be a wild card special. But couldn't do a week without bringing something to the table. So I will be running through our results from game week 4, our thoughts ahead of game week 5, and I do have some details from Matt as well. He has kindly shared his thoughts, so we will be covering that off too. But let's start, as we always do, with game week 4. And what the fucking hell happened? It was basically for me the complete opposite of game week 3. If you follow me on Twitter, you'd have probably seen going into game week 3, I was looking at the fixtures that you'd want to target. Chelsea at home to Palace, Arsenal home to Brighton. I had none of those players. I had people like Eze away at Chelsea. I had Haaland and Salah both with fairly difficult away games, or more difficult than they'd had. I was expecting a red arrow. Ended up top 300,000 game week rank, and flew up the overall ranks. This week I'm going into it thinking, right, who do I want to target? Palace at home to Leicester. Well, I've got two of their players. Brighton at home Brighton home to Ipswich. I've got two of their players. Villa at home to Everton. I've also got two of their players. And Liverpool are home to Nottingham Forest, and I've got two of their players. I was thinking Green Arrow is going to be coming, no problem whatsoever. Scores are going to be kicking in. What a lovely game week I've got ahead of me. Uh, and for anybody watching, you'll see I got absolutely sweet FA out of those players, bar Haaland. The second highest scoring player, Matoma, thanks to a clean sheet with 3 points. For those of you that can't see, and you may be listening on Spotify, I'm not going to go through the team. Long story short, Haaland got 2 goals and bonus. Luckily for me, I captained him, so he got me 26 points. Matoma got 3, and every single other person in my starting 11 is a mic check. 1s, 2s across the board. So yeah, very frustrating game week. Like, fuck, it's over. But just so you're aware of where I ended up, a game week rank of 7.65 million has took me on a red arrow, unsurprisingly, from 732k down to 1.5 million. Matt didn't do too much better, beat me by 2 points, ended up with 45. So a game week rank of 7.2 million for him. Again, quite a big red arrow from 980k to 1.7 million. His main difference where his points came from is he got an absolute haul from Bruno Fernandes of 5 points, compared to my Trent on 1. I did feel slightly unlucky, if I'm honest. Trent being 1, Liverpool were expected to concede 0.44 in that game. So in less than 2 games, what we're trying to say, 1.44 expected goals against them, meaning it generally they would keep a clean sheet. He also decided to clap the referee in the 94th minute and get himself booked. Thank you for that, Trent. Eze, expected goal involvement of 0.8. So in any other game week, a very strong chance he gets some form of return. And like most, I imagine, when Sarr went down and the referee pointed the spot, Palace had a penalty. We thought, lovely, there we go. Nice goal from Eze. Probably gets himself into the bonus points. Comes out this game week with a 9 point to 10 point. Happy days. Punish the sellers even more. That sold them 2 weeks ago. But Mateta got given the penalty for some reason. We'll come on to that a little bit more. I also had Matoma, expected goal, not even goal involvement, expected goals of 0.65. So again, very strong chance he scores in another game week. Missed in what was a good double save from the goalkeeper, but he should have absolutely buried it. And again, that would have took him into close to double-digit figures. And then a 95th minute clean sheet wipe from Robinson. So here's 6 points, looking quite nice, down to 2. Anyway, I've had enough of talking about that game week. Let's move on. Nobody needs to dwell on it too much longer. If you had a good game week, well done. But me and Matt never. So let's not dwell on it too much. Talking about good weeks, we are looking at the FPL Apprentice Mini League. We now have 63 in the league. So if you're not part of the league and you do want to join us, you can do so. Join with code T27ZGC. That's Tango 27 Zulu Golf Charlie. I'll put that in the description of the video below as well, or on Spotify if you are listening there. It should also be in the description. But we do have more players in, including a new entry straight in at number one. I feel like top of the pops. New entry in at number one. Andy Bick with Claret Crew. He had a game week of score of 50, taking him to 331 total. So welcome, Andy. And straight in at the top. For anybody wondering, Matt and I not doing so well. I am 26th in the division, top half. And Matt also now in the top half. Matt is 29th. So yeah, a little bit off. But we'll come in for you, Andy. Moving on, look at the fixture ticker. I'm looking at the defensive one to begin with. And to be honest, it's pretty grim reading, right? You look at those first six. And only Ipswich have kept a clean sheet. But that was the weekend just gone against Brighton, and their expected goals conceded. They probably, in any other week, would have conceded. So you're looking at the defence options, and as I say, the best on the fixture ticker, for those that can't see, Leicester, Everton, Ipswich, Southampton, Villa, and Brentford. Well, none of them are keeping clean sheets. So you've got to get to Man City in seventh, and they've only kept one. And then Nottingham Forest at eighth, and they've kept two. Which we'll touch on because two clean sheets so far. They've only conceded 2 goals so far. So even in the 2 games that they did concede, they only conceded one. They've had an expected clean sheet over those 4 game weeks of 1.61. Now, just for comparison, that is higher than Arsenal, who have got an expected clean sheet of 1.42. And it is just behind City with an expected clean sheet of 1.64. I said it before the season, and I've said it in a few weeks since. Under Nuno, the Forest defense statistically is solid. It's been the fourth best in the division. So they've been the fourth best behind City, Arsenal, and Liverpool since Nuno came in. And they're reaping the rewards. 2 clean sheets so far, the 7th on the fixture ticker list, with Brighton, Fulham, Chelsea away, probably the most difficult there. Crystal Palace, Leicester, and then West Ham at home. I'll come on to players a little bit later on as a chat, but if you're not considering Forest or you haven't considered Forest, I definitely recommend you do. And then, as I mentioned, City also on that list. The thing with City is the rotation risk, right? Walker played this game week, first time he started, and played the full 90. I imagine a few listening probably had Gvardiol in their team, might have sold him for Trent for, this week. But if not, and still holding on to Gvardiol, well, he came on at half time. And annoyingly, for the Lewis owners, he started the first 3 games, played the full 90 minutes. And then this is the game week. And he started, but then went off at half time for Gvardiol. So you've got to think that is in anticipation of the European games. And how much is that going to keep rotating? If you don't play 60 minutes, you're not going to get your clean sheet points. Only Akanji has played 60 minutes in all, or 60 minutes plus, should I say, in all of City's league games so far. So yeah, be interesting to see what happens there. I'm just bringing up Matt's points just to see if there was. Make sure I'm not missing anything from what he wants to say. No, don't think I am. Okay, we'll move on. Fixture ticker attack wise. Ipswich are top. They haven't scored many goals. So I don't know whether I'd trust them, but Everton are an interesting one. I know they've lost every game so far, but they have scored 4 in their last 2 games. And the players that seem to be helping them to push and actually get some goals, Dwight McNeil, who this season has got an expected goal involvement per 90 minutes of 0.63. So he's getting a goal involvement every other game, or better than every other game. And Dominic Calvert-Lewin with 0.46, so he is just shy of getting a return every other game. And what I think is really impressive with that is Everton have been away at Spurs and Villa. So they're still producing the goods in front of goal. You know, they are two very difficult away games. So I can only see that those attempts and those goals return increase given, going forward they've got Leicester, Palace, Newcastle at home, Ipswich, Fulham, and Southampton. That's a crazy run for Everton. Um, and again, I wouldn't trust their defence because they seem to go 2-0 up and then lose 3-2. But if you can get part of the goal scorers, nice differentials at the minute. And also point out Spurs, they are fourth. And I'll come on to the Spurs attacking options a little bit later on. But they have, again, some nice fixtures. Brentford, then okay, not too nice in 6 and 7, away at United, away at Brighton. But then they've got West Ham at home, Palace away, and Villa at home. So some options there. But I'll come on to that because I think potentially their best route to goal is actually a defender. But I will talk on that, as I say. And then Arsenal also on this list. Once you get City out the way, those next three look great. Leicester at home, Southampton at home, Bournemouth away. A lot of people sold Saka this week for Salah. I'm assuming they may want to go back. Salah this week ended up with 2 points. Saka ended up with 7. Of course, as I say, Arsenal plays City this weekend, whereas Liverpool are at home to Bournemouth. So Salah could still pay dividends there. Um, but yeah, the other option, the other attacking option usually for Arsenal is Havertz. But he played in the midfield this week with Odegaard and Rice being out. So it'd be interesting to know whether Rice has served as ban. Does that mean Havertz goes back up top and Rice just slots into that midfield? Or will Arteta focus on, okay, Rice is going back into the midfield, obviously, but also with Havertz staying there because he's rarely the Odegaard replacement, not the Rice replacement. To put it into context, Havertz this week, when he's played in that midfield position, has had his lowest expected goal involvement of the season so far of 0.14. Now, it was away at Tottenham, not an easy fixture, but it just shows how much he's not in front of goal. So it'd be interesting to see this week when Rice is back where Havertz plays, just in case you're thinking of jumping on him and how long Odegaard is going to be out for. But yeah, that is the fixtures ticker so far. Moving on, I'm going to go through each position, and I'm going to start with the goalkeepers. Just have a little slap of the tea. Cup for any Rick and Morty fans. Copyright. Other animated shows are available. But yeah, what I thought I'd do is I'd run through every position so far, and from an FPL perspective, have a look at who are the best performers. Let's start with the goalkeepers. I think a lot of people might be starting to think about their wild card coming into next week. Matt always says the key things to think about are your fixtures and your players on form. So I'm just going to go through. I'm not going to go through all of the players on the list. I'm just going to go through those key picks. Now, Edison is a top performer in terms of expected FPL points. Should have picked up 18.7. Is actually on level with that. He's picked up 19 points. Thanks to an assist this week. Now, I don't see that happening every week, of course. I know Haaland's great, but I can't see that being their route to goal all the time. But he picked up an assist, but he's only kept one clean sheet. Now, the stats say City should have kept more. But yeah, he's top for expected FPL points. And City are 7th on the ticket. Once Arsenal's out the way, their fixture run from game week 7 especially is very attractive. So if you're looking at a 5.5 million keeper between Raya and Edison, potentially also put Allison in that mix, it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to know who to go for. I think Edison's more safe in the Premier League if you want part of the City defence. I think if you want a part of the Arsenal defence, you've got Gabriel, who's going to play pretty much week in, week out. You've got Saliba, who's going to play pretty much week in, week out, and the same for Ben White. So I'd probably be tempted to lean towards Edison. And as I say, the expected goals conceded data backs up the City man as well. Looking at Raya, he's massively overperforming. He should have got less points than Edison, 18.66 expected. He's pulled out a 29. 3 clean sheets. Expected clean sheets, 1.42. So Arsenal have doubled their expected clean sheets. And they are a very good defence, and their fixtures are going to be nice from 6, 7, and 8. But then in game week 9, the next 3 go quite difficult for them again. So they have been picking up the clean sheets. Even in game week 1, Wolves unlucky not to score. Villa very unlucky not to score. I don't know how Watkins didn't come out with at least 1 goal. City this weekend, so I wouldn't bring him in for this weekend. But then Leicester, Southampton, and Bournemouth, very nice. But then it's Liverpool at home, Newcastle away, Chelsea away. So I don't know. I think for me, if I'm getting a 5.5 keeper, I would be part of that City defence. I'd probably get Raya, and then I'd cover myself with a guaranteed Arsenal starter in defence, but because you can't get the guaranteed starting defender from City. So that's the way I'd look. I know Flecken is also a thought in a lot of people's minds. You'll see on this, he's not in the top 10 goalkeepers so far this season. The fixtures do look nice, as you'll have seen with the Brentford were on the fixture ticker for defence. I'd consider Sells. Sells, again, he's 4.5 million, same price. He's the 4th top performing keeper, expected FPL points wise, this season. Remember, he's been away at Liverpool as well. Not an easy place to go. And I said before, the stats I've said since Nuno came in, their defence is the 4th best in the division. He's 4th on this list. They're also 8th on the fixture ticker compared to Brentford in 6, so not much between them. And expected goals conceded so far this season. Nottingham Forest, 4.2. Brentford, 7.5. So the defence is just far more assured. So yeah, if you're looking for a 4.5 million keeper, not sticking with the 5.5s, I would think Sells is worth a look. Maybe get both if you like trading keepers. Granted, with Flecken and Sells, probably be a nice way of rotating them. But yeah, I might get crucified for this, and we'll see what Matt thinks next week. But I think if you're going for a goalkeeper, 5.5 bracket, Edison's the one. If you're looking at the 4.5 bracket, then look at Sells. Going on to the defence. Again, some key highlights. I spoke about Tottenham being 4th. Was it 4th? Let me just double check. 4th on the fixtures on the ticker there. It's unsurprising to see Trent at the top of the defender performance so far for expected FPL points. You will also see Tottenham have 2 players in this. They've got Romero and they've got Pedro Porro. Now, Romero, a little bit more dangerous from a corner, but Pedro Porro seems to be taking a lot of shots. So I don't trust the Spurs defence. So I wouldn't get in one of their defenders for clean sheet points. But as I say, the 4th on the attacking list. Porro has hit the team's 2nd most shots with 8 shots. That is more than Son. It's more than Kulusevski. The only person that's beaten him is Johnson. Johnson's on 9. He's also made the top most attempted assists in the team with 10, ahead of Maddison, who takes free kicks and corners. So he's very attacking in this team, 2nd most shots and the most attempted assists. If you look at defenders overall, Porro has hit the most shots of any defender and is the 2nd most for assist attempts, unsurprisingly, behind Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's got 11. So the guy is so attacking as a defender. A lot of people might think about trading him out on a wild card if they're doing it in 6. I'd stick with it, not for the defensive points. Defensive points have been very hard to come by this season. Trent is currently top with 24, something along those sort of lines. The points are difficult to get. I know, to be fair, Gabriel's probably ahead of him now, right? After his 15 points haul. Ignore that. But you want attacking returns. And I think Porro is a great way to it. What might surprise some people on this list, an FPL favourite, Digne is sat 3rd. He's 2nd for defenders for expected assists with 1.72. Again, unsurprisingly, top of that list is Trent Alexander-Arnold with 1.91. But Villa are 5th on the ticket. A lot of people have jumped on Konsa instead of Digne. Couple of reasons. The change in bonus points means that you get potential bonus points for getting fouls against you. Concert was the most foul defender in the league last season, so I think a lot of people have gone for Concert because of that reason. Now Villa just keep conceding, and Concert's not a major threat from corners. That is more Pau Torres's job for Villa's centre backs. So dare I say, if you're going on a wild card next week, Digne might be an option instead. Um, the worry with Digne last season was, well, you've got Moreno there, right? Who can come in, take his place. Well, Moreno's left. He's no longer there. So you've got, yeah, I feel like Digne is a real, I can't believe I'm saying it, but he's a potential option. As I say, he's got the second most expected assists of any defender in the division. And remember, they played Arsenal. So again, one of the toughest defenses. So Digne's a potential route. I feel like I'm just saying that for a fact. I genuinely mean it. I genuinely mean it. But touching on Arsenal, they are the best defence in the division. Gabriel, the fourth highest defender for expected points. Now, what I want to say here is, and Matt said this as well, why on earth do people have Saliba over Gabriel? It makes no sense to me. They're both the same price, but Gabriel's far more attacking. He's going to get the clean sheet points if there's an Arsenal clean sheet. It's the same. From an attacking point of view, I'll read some stats for you. This season so far: shots, Gabriel 3, Saliba 0. Attempted assists this season: Gabriel 2, Saliba 0. He's just so much more threat on corners. You'll see on the screen, if you're looking, Gabriel's expected points this season is 21.37. If you're wondering, Saliba's, he's not on the list because he's quite low down, 13.66. So it's an 8-point difference. So again, if you are on a wild card and you need an Arsenal defender in, maybe get both if that's what you want to play. Or I know some people might go Rayham in one, but if you're only getting one of them, Gabriel 100% is the better option. Watch Saliba score now. The last person I'll bring up on this list is Aina. Aina's dropped in price to 4.4, and I don't get it because the guy has started every single game. They've kept 2 clean sheets, and you'll see from an expected assist point of view, 0.42, not the highest, but he is playing as a wing on the left back. He's the cheap way into the Forest defence is the point I'm going to make. So if you don't go for a 4.5 keeper, you're not going to get sells in, or you want to go for a Flecken, but you still want a piece of that Forest defence for their run and their statistically good defence. Aina's 4.4, so it'll just save you that 0.1 compared to getting another defender in, and his starts look pretty assured. I was speaking to Mark Southerns, who I imagine a lot of you will know from Black Box when we were at FPL, when we were at the thing in London I went to. I can't remember what it was called. Fantasy Football Fest. That's what I'm looking for. And he assures me. So get on Mark's Twitter if this doesn't happen. But now Moreno has gone into Forest. He'll play one side, and it'll be Williams that is dropped, and Aina will play. And if you look at the Liverpool game, that's exactly what happened. Williams played 10 minutes. So yeah, Aina seems a pretty assured player, and he's got a few bonus points in him as well. Got 2 points, 2 bonus of the weekend, and he got 2 when they kept a clean sheet previously as well. But yeah, that's it for the defenders. Going on to the midfielders, just have another swig of the tea. Not into midfielders even. Is that what I said? I don't know. I'm saying it now. Again, looking at key picks in this position, not surprising. The highest midfielder for expected FPL points is Mohamed Salah. Second place is Luis Diaz. And the expected points for Salah, 31.65. Expected points for Luis Diaz, 31.4. So he's really not that far behind. He's actually ahead on expected goals. I know, and they both got 3. They both got 3 goals. He's not far off on expected assists, but Salah has 3, Diaz only has 1. So he's 8 points behind him in total, but it's a £5 million saving. Now, I'm not suggesting for any stretch of the imagination you go and sell Salah for Diaz tomorrow. Salah's obviously, you need to bear in mind, is on penalties. He's also taking more shots, as you can see from the data, 13-9. But if you are struggling for funds if you're wildcarding in game week 6, because you're probably bringing in a Saka, you probably want to keep a Haaland. It's not the worst trade-off, is what I'd say. It's not the worst trade-off. The thing that you also need to be aware of, however, is a bit like with the City team. Now that Europe is about, Gakpo and Nunes will likely get more game time. I feel like Salah's more of an assured minutes man, and you can see that from the data. Salah, 353 minutes played, so only 7 minutes behind getting 90 every single game week, whereas Diaz has played 289. So it's a full 60 minutes plus less. But yeah, £5 million in the bank. Tavernier's third on the list. This surprised me. Semenyo is fifth on the list. So both Bournemouth players are up there. Whereas Semenyo scored twice, Tavernier's only got one. If you look at the expected goal data, Tavernier is actually ahead. Expected goals are 2.36, Semenyo 2.01. He's also ahead on attempted assists, 11-4. And they're both the same price. In fact, Tavernier is 0.1 less. So eyeing it up, he's got higher expected goals, higher expected points. He's attempted more assists, although they have been less quality, in all fairness, on the attempted assist piece. But if you're looking to be a bit different from Semenyo, Tavernier is not the worst pick. So yeah, something to consider. He's took less shots than Semenyo. That's something to be aware of. But again, the quality of his shots are better. He's got more on target, and as I say, he's higher on the expected goals data. And then the other player I'd bring into play on this, if you're looking to bring somebody in, again, game week 6 onwards probably, is Mbeumo. Only player on this list of 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, only player other than Saka whose team is on the fixture ticker for attack. So he's ninth in terms of his FPL performance this season. But Brentford are 7th on the fixture ticker. So he's in form, same as Saka, and his team's got the fixtures. So from this list, if you're playing a wild card in 6 or looking to do some transfers, Saka and Mbeumo stand out a mile. Tavernier and Semenyo. Semenyo's fine as well, but if you want to be a bit different, Tavernier are great budget enablers. And then, yeah, if you can afford Salah, go for Salah. But if you can't, Diaz is performing alongside him, is what I'd say. Moving on, looking at the forward so far. Again, just looking at the key picks in this position. Alan miles ahead. He is up massively over, and again, this will surprise nobody. He is massively performing his expected data. Hasn't had an assist yet, but he does have 9 goals. He's only expected to have had 4.88, so he's massively overperforming. Should have had points 39.75 and has brought in 54 points so far. That is crazy overperformance. Can he continue to do it? I don't even think Haaland can continue to do it. That would be how many goals would he score in the season? Something ridiculous like 80. So I can't see that continuing. And also, he might get rested now that they are going into Europe, so the 90 minutes per match may start to drop. But the key picks here, so Watkins is the opposite. He is underperforming his stats. He got 2 at the weekend against Everton, 2 goals there, but he should have scored probably 4 goals. He's only got 2. He should have not far off 29 points. He's only on 22, so he is underperforming his data. But he's too good not, as you can see from last season and even the season before that, the goals he's putting in the net, not to bring it back and start to get in line with that data. Villa are eighth on the attacking ticker, so he's in the form. Oh, he's not in the form. He is. I mean, he's got 2 in the last game, so hopefully he's played himself into form, and he's also got the fixtures. So, if you're looking at in that price bracket, people might be thinking, I need to move myself off of Isaac. Havertz is a potential option. think Watkins is probably is a great option. The stats suggest he should have outscored Havertz by 6 points. He's 2 behind him, but he should have outscored him by 6. As I mentioned before, Havertz's position whilst Rice and Odegaard are out might change as well and take him away from the goal. But yeah, I think Watkins is a solid pick. Chris Wood, fourth on the in terms of expected points from a striker in the game, continuing to start. Forrest are third on the attacking tickers. So if you're looking for an enabler, and Wissa, for example, who's third on this list, if it turns out that he is injured for the long term, so you can't get his fixture on, Wood isn't a bad option. He's the same price as Wissa. He's took more shots than him. Not as good quality shots. Wissa's got the better expected goal data, but he's slightly ahead on the expected assists options. But he's not a bad pick. The other person I'd consider in that price bracket, I can't say price bracket. The other person I'd consider in that position for the budget is down in ninth on that list. Calvert-Lewin. He's getting the starts and he's getting the stats. Everton are second on the attacking data. And I mentioned before, I wouldn't trust their defence, but the scoring. He's had 3 attacking returns in the last 2 games, 2 goals, 1 assist. He has 0.46 expected goal involvement per 90, despite playing away at Spurs and away at Villa. So again, I think Wissa's probably the best pick. As you can see, he's played less minutes than Wood and less minutes than Calvert-Lewin, yet is expected to have had more points than them. So if their fixtures come in, and Wissa's also played away at City and Liverpool, so he's had very difficult fixtures too. So I think Wissa is the best pick. But if it turns out Wissa's out for the long term, or you need a second 6 million to fund you're sticking with a Salah and a Saka and a Haaland, then I think Calvert-Lewin edges it over Wood for me. I feel like Calvert-Lewin's star position is more assured than Wood. But yeah, he's a bit of a Reece James Calvert-Lewin. I imagine he'll be injured at some point in the season, probably in the next couple of games. But he's not a bad pick. He's not a bad pick. Finish my tee off before we move on to the best captain options. Salah's miles ahead on it. Probably doesn't surprise anybody. Salah's miles ahead. He is at home to Bournemouth at Anfield. And when you look at the rest of the options, either the fixture's not great or the form isn't great. So Haaland, obviously, his form's fantastic, but he's got the hardest defence in the league. He's playing Arsenal, or the best defence in the league, at least from last season. He's playing Arsenal, so you're probably not trusting him with the captain's armband. Watkins, maybe, he's in third, expected points of 5.7, just for those that, I didn't say, those that are listening. Salah expected points is 7.7. Top, Haaland 6. Watkins is 5.7. And maybe, as I say, he scored twice in the last game. Maybe he's starting to find his feet. He does have the stats. Hopefully, he can start converting. The real thing I would go for, I think if you've got Salah, you go for Salah, right? If you don't have Salah, but you do have a Watkins, he's not a bad pick. Wolves have conceded 62 shots this season so far. 62 shots, 43 of them from inside the box. That's in 4 games. So they're conceding more than 15 shots per game and more than 10 in the box per game. Just to put that into comparison, right? Man City conceded 29 shots and only 19 in the box. Liverpool, 28 shots, only 17 in the box. Tottenham, again, their defence isn't great. They've only conceded 33 shots, 29 in the box. And Aston Villa even only conceded 38 shots and 24 in the box. So the Wolves' defence, 62 shots against, 43 in the box, is poor. So that might give Watkins some real opportunities to build on his 2. If you don't have Salah, you don't have Watkins, you've got to go Haaland, right? He can score against anybody. Fixture proof, as they say. So yeah, I'd maybe go there. But if you've got Salah, I think it's a no-brainer. That is where you go. Differential time. And quite good news for me with this one. I ended up taking it thanks to Mateta. So Matt went for Minter, who got 2 points. So he did get an extra bonus for the clean sheets, but he also got himself booked. So 3 became 2. And then Soboslai in Liverpool's 1-0 defeat at home to Nottingham Forest. He also got booked, so he got 1 point, giving Matt a grand total of 3. I had Doku, didn't play at all, didn't play a single minute, so 0 points for Doku. But luckily for me, Mateta came romping home, 2 goals. I'd have took one, and Eze taken the penalty, because I'd have still beat Matt, even with the 1 goal. But he took the penalty, converted to get himself 2 goals, 2 for playing 60 plus, and 3 bonus. So he picked up 13 points, giving me a grand total of 13 points. So 13 me, 3 to Matt, means I win, and I go into a 2-1 lead. We don't have picks for game week 6, game week 5. We don't have picks for game week 5. So we'll pick this back up ahead of game week 6, in which everybody that's picked second seems to win. And I'm due to pick first, so I imagine Matt will win the next one if it follows trend. But yeah, we'll pick that back up. In the coming game weeks, or next game week, should I say. Looking at Matt's team. So bear with me. I'm just going to read from the phone so everybody is aware of what Matt is looking to do. There was a question somebody asked about Eze and the penalty, and basically, is he less of an essential pick now that we know he's sharing penalties at least with Mateta? To which Matt's answer was, well, in simple terms, he is less essential. There's lots of good options in that price bracket. You've got Mbumo, you've got Bowen, you've got Louis Diaz. Eze still looks good from a shot volume and an expected goal piece, so he is still an very good option, but his essential status has been reduced. But yeah, looking at Matt's plans, he has 1 free transfer coming into the game week. The plan is to roll it into game week 6. He feels that the team is adequate. There's no need for the Arsenal cover, which is the main gap he has because they are away at City. He was very frustrated in game week 4. Probably should have mentioned this a bit earlier on, but he was mainly frustrated with people getting Gabriel or Smith Rowe off the bench, whereas he played 3 free transfers for no net gain, which could have given more flex to not wildcard in game week 6. But that now looks inevitable. So yeah, roll this week. Keep his eye on the presses. See what the news is with Isaac and Pedro. See if they are back. If one's out, he may well just play Robinson. If both are out, he'll be forced to use his free transfer. But it looks as though game week 6 is going to be where he needs to play the wild card. So yeah, that is Matt's team. Looking at mine, it's probably a similar story for me, to be honest with you. I've got 1 free transfer as well, 0.7 million in the bank. It's like last game week all again. I look at the teams, so just to run through it, I've got Henderson in net, at home to United, Porro at home to Brentford, Trent at home to Bournemouth, Concert at home to Wolves. So all my defence is playing at home. They've got fairly decent enough fixtures. I'd like to think maybe Henderson at home to United, not so much, but the rest of them have got okay fixtures. I'd like to think I'm going to get at least 1 or 2 clean sheets from them, and maybe even an attack and return from Porro and Trent. Looking across the midfield, Rodgers at home to Wolves, Eze at home to United, Salah at home to Bournemouth with the captain armband, and then Matoma at home to Nottingham Forest. Again, all at home, all with relatively decent fixtures. Eze can quite easily score against Man United. Matoma against the 4th best defence in the division in Nottingham Forest. Still, if anybody's going to score for Brighton, it's going to be him, Pedro, or Welbeck. So quite happy to play him. And then up top, I've got Haaland at home to Arsenal, Pedro with the vice captain armband if he's fit at home to Forest, and Isaac away at Fulham again if he's fit. Yeah, Haaland's fixture proof. The other 2 are home to Forest and away at Fulham. Not exactly bad fixtures. So ideally, I'm going to roll it, but similar to Matt, if we find out Pedro or Isaac are injured, I'll just play Robinson. He's at home to Newcastle. But if I find out both are injured, I'm pretty set on a game week 6 wildcard. So I will I've got the money to do Isaac to Watkins, which I quite like. get him in for the derby. If not, then I could quite easily do Pedro to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who has Leicester. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm going to, European games, League Cup happening midweek, so I'm not going to do any transfers until Friday at the very earliest. And I'll wait for the presses, see the injury news for Pedro, see the injury news for Isaac, see if I've picked up any more injuries with these European games and League Cup games, and then take it from there. But yeah, that is what I plan to do. And that brings us to the end. So just a big first thing to say is thank you for joining me. Matt will be back with me next week to run through game week 6 plans, results from game week 5. But as you've just found out, the chances are we will both be playing our wild card. So it should be quite a lengthy discussion, that one, about who were bought in and why. If you're not following us on Twitter, you can find me personally at FPL_apprentice1. You can find Matt at FPL Corbs, CORBS at FPL Corbs. And if you are on YouTube and following us, you want to help us out, give us a subscribe, give us a like. It really does help us. We are only 4 off 750 followers, and that'd be pretty insane. Getting to episode 50 is pretty insane. So yeah, to get 750 subscribers would be pretty cool. So if you are watching and you haven't subscribed, it is free to do, and it does help us and helps other people to find us as well. So if you have learned anything from us, it just helps other people to find us too. But more importantly, feels good for me and Matt. So so yeah, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and click the like. Otherwise, I will close it there. No banter with Matt this week because he's not here, so I'll just be weird talking to myself. So I will leave you to the rest of your evening. I wish you all the best for game week 5 that we're going into, whatever it is you are doing. We can all forget about game week 4. There's a new game week on the horizon already, and I'll pick up with you next week to see how that developed and for the wildcard special ahead of game week 6. Until then, best of luck. Speak to you soon.